Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host Maxine and we're on episode 165. Yes, this is not a dream. You are not imagining this. This is another episode of God Built This Podcast, the second episode of the week. This is what we're doing moving forward. I, along with my team, who is me, myself, and I, have made the executive decision to bump up the episodes, the weekly episodes, to twice a week. I just feel like that is the natural progression of podcasters and podcasting. And there's so much more that goes on, like in between, the week that goes off, that goes by for the next episode. So I figure, why not continue talking? Hello. But yeah, and I want to get the numbers up, but no, I really, I just feel like it's a natural progression. It's only been a matter of time. And so here we are. So new episodes come on the usual Tuesday. That's always been the premiere date. And Friday. I'm about to say Saturday. Friday. So Tuesday and Friday are our episode dates for the week. Every week. Moving forward. And so let's go ahead and begin. So this is episode 165. First, I want to talk about the shooting that took place in Buffalo. I went over that very briefly in the last episode, and I think with my tone, maybe it may sound insensitive. So I definitely own that, and I want to circle back. So this is what we're doing right now. We're circling back. Now, the reason why I'm circling back even more, and of course, like, the loss of life is like, and I'm just not good with like grieving and stuff like that, and really like sitting in that grief. So I naturally just like rush through it and not sit in that. So I think that comes across insensitive. So, but I want to circle back to this topic because lives were lost, and it's just disturbing all around, right? You go to a grocery store, you shouldn't have to fear for your life. You shouldn't have to fear that this may be the last moment of living you are experiencing. That's just not okay. And for some of the victims to be of a particular age, like they're 65, 70, like they're older people. Sometimes with older people, going to the grocery store is like their second home. Like, it's like a part of their routine. It's the thing that they do. They get fresh fruits every week, and so that must be a part of their routine. And for the one time that they are continuing this routine of theirs, to have their lives be just tragically end is devastating. So my heart definitely goes out to just their loved ones, and just the fact that it's just really sad. So it's hard for me to talk about grief, so I don't like to stay on it too much, but I wanted to touch on that real quickly. And I have a colleague. Oh, see, these damn coworkers, huh? No, but I have a coworker in particular, who actually knows one of the victims. He grew up with this lady. This lady was a friend of his mother, and he knew her. He knew her as like an auntie type of figure, someone of endearment. And so for him to know someone who got killed in this tragic event, and for me to know him, it just kind of made things realer. And on this podcast, I've been delving more into just red pill everything, right? Like, this is a conspiracy, this isn't true, fuck the media, this, Biden faked it, all these things. And though those things are true, right? Though there are agendas pushed and they're done in the event of tragedy. Though those things are accurate, unfortunately, in the midst of those things and those moments and events, lives are lost, right? There are victims. There are people who have lost their lives or have experienced a great sense of loss. Like maybe they were financially cheated. Maybe an opportunity was taken away from them because of a tragedy. So regardless, there's victims in any of these events that take place that may seem, and for the most part, what I believe to be an agenda, a push for the Democratic Party to be seen as like just these woke and heroic, and this is why guns should no longer be in the possession of civilians, and it pushes forward that argument, and I'm just not in agreement with that argument. So I focus more on those perspectives and those ideas, and I push your thinking hopefully into questioning why should my possession of a weapon that protects me and my loved ones and my family and my household and just myself, why should I have to take that away or have that be taken away from me because of a horrible event that took place? But that's an isolated incident that should not have to interfere with my own personal protection of my freedom, of my liberty. Like on one hand, yes, I get maybe reevaluating who has access to guns, of course, but I also feel like we shouldn't bring it to the extreme of, well, no one should have guns. We should just live like Australians, and no one should have any possession of weapons, AR-15s and Glocks and yada. Like, no one should have any type of gun, and that is what I am vehemently against. So typically with these stories, I stay on that side and I share those takes, because that's what this podcast is really about. At the end of the day, like, that's what I've been talking about for a very long time. So I focus on that, but I do want to show a bit more sensitivity in moments when lives are actually lost, and like real lives. And the fact that I have a coworker who knew this life, and for her to no longer be living because of this event, it made it real to me. Unless now here comes the red pill. Unless he got paid by somebody to tell that story. Let me stop. I'm kidding, but I'm not. No. I'm kidding, but well, what I'm trying to say is there is such a thing as crisis actors, like what I've shared before on the previous episode. I'm not saying my coworker is one. I'm not saying that he wasn't doing all of that. And he's a man. I mean, men could be crisis actors too, but I feel like, I don't know, I would think more of a woman to fulfill that role. But no, this coworker is not. I promise you, he's not. He's good people from what I know. And I really do, like, again, like in moments, like in tragic events, like two things can still be true. Lives could have been lost, like for real, like real lives could have been lost, and an agenda was pushed in, the purpose of taking away our personal liberties, our personal freedoms, and protection. So again, two things can still be true. So yes, I just want to start off with that, because I was thinking like, I don't want to come off like I don't give a fuck about lives being lost. And I really do. I just, as you know, I think a lot of people feel the same way as far as when it comes to grief. Like, I just, so especially with, like, I know myself, like I get in a headspace where if I fill it up with too much negativity, I just go down a rabbit hole. So I don't like to do that to myself. So Yes, that is that. Let's speaking on death. Let's talk about Kevin Samuels. We did not talk about him once the news broke out because I just didn't want to. Personally, I just didn't want to. I didn't like feel the rush to get on the story as quick as everyone else did. But I do want to touch upon it because I find it interesting for a couple of things. Now, what I do find to be disheartening is that instead of just saying RIP, like instead of just saying, may he rest, I'm sorry for his surviving family members who are, grieving his loss, grieving their loss. Instead of doing that, what I've seen a lot of is people just rejoicing in his passing, saying ha ha, ha ha, like they were trying to paint it as if he died alone, right? Like this man who's telling black women how to live and how to date and how to catch a man or not catch a man, whatever, is in a home of a strange woman, and he wasn't found by his wife. He's not married anymore, but it's just like they were trying to paint him out to be like a sucker. And I just don't like that. Like, I get it. He was definitely controversial. He talked a lot. Like, he degraded black women in many ways. Don't get me wrong. Like, I hated the whole value system. Like, how would you rate yourself? Like, I hate that. Because it's like, on one end, you want to be confident, but on the other end, you don't want to, like, get shot down, right? Like, if you say, well, I'm a 10, right? And it's like, if Beyonce's a 10, you can't be a 10. Like, people will do that. And it's like, at the end of the day, beauty is subjective, and it's not going to be across the line the same response from everyone, right? Like, your beauty may not strike me as strongly as it does the next person, and that's okay. So ultimately, if you are attracted to someone, that person whom you're attracted to, that's who you really want to feel attractive towards you as well. Like, you want that person who is of your interest to find you attractive, find you interesting, and for it to be a mutual thing. But for Kevin Samuels to just kind of go off of this scale of your beauty and how would you rate, it's just like, dude, what the fuck are we doing? Are we in third grade? It just brings me back to like moments in my childhood that I just did not like, because if you didn't fit a certain beauty scale, a beauty standard, then you just was not favorable at all. Like, regardless if your hair was washed and well kept, regardless if your skin was clear, regardless if you had a beautiful smile and luscious lips. Like, if you wasn't light skinned, Cape Verdean, if you wasn't Puerto Rican, if you wasn't any of a lighter skin complexion with loose textured hair, you was not considered beautiful at one point in time. So I just, Kevin Samuels with that sliding scale of his and the rate system and the you're not a valuable, all of that is just, it's degrading at the end of the day. What I find interesting though, like, I never tuned into his work. Of course I would see clips of his show and like the controversial moments when he's just dragging a black woman who calls in the show. It's like, why are you calling in? Let's start there. But yeah, like, so I want to see. I've never watched a full episode of his work. But I came across some of his clips through my timeline, of course, because he was very popular. And I just think what I find disturbing was these black women who will call in. They will call in knowing, and it's not even to shoot the black women down, but it's like knowing that this man would rate a particular type of woman at a higher rate than he would another type of woman, and let's keep the, the whole, I don't know, like, so you had to be skinny, um look exotic, um lighter skin complexion, stuff like that. But even then, I remember there was a moment he said he thinks Kelly Rowland is more attractive, more beautiful than Beyonce. And it's like, okay, I mean, whatever. But that's just interesting because typically that was not at all the rhetoric that was said in the beginning of Destiny's Child. Like, it was always like Beyonce first. Maybe that's because when Kelly Rowland was bald, no one really gave a fuck. But anyway, the point is, you have these black women call in knowing, like, you should know already that Kevin Samuels would have dragged you. Like, because of what he's done historically on his show. Right? Like, he's going to ask you your weight. And when you say anything over, anything over 130, then he's going to start clowning you. He's going to ask you if you have children. And if you say yes, even if you just have one, he's going to start clowning you, because he also doesn't believe that single mothers, like, should have much of a shot for high value men, right? And so, like, this rhetoric is just, like, so just ridiculous. It's ridiculous at the very least. But you have these women who are clearly, like, you're aware, like, stop acting surprised and shocked and hurt that this man is beating you down, really, like, verbally. He's beating you down and making you feel like shit. But the only reason he's able to do that is because you called in, right? He didn't pop up at your house and say, hey, I'm going to on the spot critique you. Let's do this. Roll the cameras. No, you called into his show asking for his validation. And when he does not give you that, when he does not demonstrate that he is in approval of your beauty or lack thereof, according to him, then you're upset, then you're mad that a black man is tearing down a black woman. It's like, but you knew this though. Like, so what was the point? What was the point? So I bring this up because I remember there was this woman who came on his show. She called on, and I think they did like a video. Yeah, she called on in video. And I'm going to describe her. So she's darker skin. She has a big smile. Let's say that. She has a big smile. Like, her teeth kind of just, like, stands out in her smile. And so, like, her physique was not favorable to him, to say the very least. Like, it wasn't favorable. She wasn't, like, overweight or, like, I don't know, but just, like, her face wasn't, like, very attractive to Kevin Samuels. Like, it didn't fit, like, the box, right? But aside from that, she was a well-to-do woman. She had her own business. She just was successful in other ways aside from her beauty, according to Kevin Samuels. So I remember when she called in and they did a video chat, and he just kind of just, like, went in, like, this bitch, yada yada yada, like, just, like, went in. He called her a bitch. No, he didn't call her a bitch, but he just basically made her feel like crap, because he made it clear, like, you are not beautiful, you are not at all attractive, and you have the nerve to desire a man of this caliber. Like, you want a man who makes six figures, but you look like that. Like, he would say stuff like that, and he said that to her, in many ways. So he said that to her. Of course, that goes viral. It's a big moment, right? She's a black woman at that, and she's a dark-skinned black woman. So, like, all those layers come into play, and it's, of course, not a good look, right? It doesn't look good on him. This guy is ridiculing a black woman, a dark-skinned black woman, and, black women are the least that damn quote. Let me read that stupid ass quote. I hate that fucking quote. I get so mad with that quote. It's from Malcolm X. And no offense to Malcolm X, but I just hate that quote. Aside from why, I don't hate that he said it, because at the time that was very true. And I'm not saying it's not true now, but I feel like it's not true now, right? You understand what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is black women be wearing that quote like a badge of honor. Like, I'm so proud to be the least protected and, least respected, person in the world in America. It's like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, this, like, victim consciousness ass bullshit. Like, I'm not wearing that. I'm not gonna rock that. That's not gonna be on my bio. I'm not gonna have that a part of my signature in my email outlook. Like, I'm not doing this. So fucking dumb. Like, when Black Lives Matter was like really in our face during like 2019, people will wear, at the start of wearing masks, there was certain masks that was worn, and these masks were, I can't breathe. My black life doesn't matter. It's just like some bullshit. Like, what the fuck are you saying? You're gonna wear a mask that's covering your mouth and nose that says I can't breathe while you're taking my order right now? This doesn't make you uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable, and I'm a black woman. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I get what you're trying to do, but can we stop? Can you just take my order? I want asparagus, please. I'm not trying to talk to you about your fucking mask. Oh, where'd you get your mask? Let me try to find it. Hold on. Black women is the least protected and respected. Let's see. Yada. Where is that? There we go. The most. Yeah, that's it. Oh, so this is by Malcolm X, and he said this verbatim. Where is it? The most disrespected woman in America is the black woman. But there was more that he said, and I'm not trying to play this video. But hold on, let's get into it, because I didn't realize it was a whole speech he did. I guess that makes sense. But anyway, here's a couple of pieces from this speech, because it was actually a speech. He didn't just say, honestly, I just thought he just randomly said it. There are videos of Malcolm X, just being interviewed like on the street or like leaving from a building, and he'll say a couple of words. I thought it was just like a moment when he said that quote. I didn't know it was a speech. So let me just read this real quick. So this took place in 1962 in May 22nd. Really? Okay, that's pretty cool. We're in May right now. Okay, so in Los Angeles, California. So he said, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? To such extent you bleached to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to, so much so that you don't want to be around each other? No. Before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God made you? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, get to the part. Okay, this is the part where he starts saying it. And that was powerful. We could talk about that in a moment. The most disrespected woman in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. All right, we could stop there. So, look, this was in the 60s, right? In America, racism was just in your fucking face, right? I get it. I'm just saying, right now in 2022, with black women being the top graduates of college, with black women being more successful, and not to compare black men, like I hate when we do that, but just for the light of this conversation, black women earning more than black men, being more successful, climbing the social ladder than black men in certain respects, right? This quote is not really said then. Like you know what I mean? Like, I can't. Like, Oprah, shut the fuck up. Like, if Oprah says this in her position, it's like, but girl, aren't you the first billionaire, at one point in time? I don't know. I just feel like a lot of times when people use this quote now, it's just like, this is why I'm so sad and woe is me, and just very depressing. Like, stop wearing that as a badge of honor. right? Instead, how about you state your how about you just affirm yourself? How about that? Like, how about you just make it clear that you are magic, you are gold, you are loved, you are valued. Like, say more uplifting things of yourself. Now, no hate to Malcolm X again. I just want to make that very clear. It's like, I get what he was saying, and I think he really spoke to what was taking place right in front of him. Starting off that speech with him talking about, like, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair, who taught you to hate the color of your skin, who taught you to hate the way your nose is shaped. Like, all of that is real. Like, and it was definitely in your face at that time. Like, at the time in the 1960s, that was the start of relaxing your hair. When Madam C.J. Walker became successful off of being this, really being a trendsetter in the hair industry and showing Black women, hey, this is how you can perm your hair. This is how you can relax your hair. And, you don't need the fro anymore. You could be more like, not to say she was saying you could be more like the white woman, but obviously with relaxed hair on Black women, it straightens your hair, and your hair does replicate that of a white woman because your hair is no longer this curly fro. Instead, it's straight, it's quote unquote manageable, and it looks more like politically correct, right? I was just talking about hair last episode. We're not gonna go into hair today. But I think at that point, with change, there's resistance, and a lot of women who was still, of course, rocking their natural hair, their texture, their kinky texture. It was hard to accept this new wave of relaxing your hair. Like, what do you mean you're gonna put this chemical in your hair and straighten your hair out, and it's no longer gonna be Afro kinky? Like, it was a resistance there. So I think Malcolm X spoke to that with this speech as well. Like, hey, who taught you that you needed to change your hair texture? Who taught you that? And he's just putting it in our faces that in this time period, and even today, but in that time period especially, because that was the start of it, you have the media and the white man, quote unquote, and literally, but you have all those factors that's making you feel inadequate, that's making you feel like you have to change your God-given looks in order to feel beautiful. So I think the quote that he said, regarding Black women being the most disrespected was relevant, and it was absolutely relevant at this point in time. And definitely thereafter. But I feel like oftentimes today in 2022, a lot of Black women will use this quote, or even, and I get so uncomfortable when white women say that, and they say this quote as like a way to show camaraderie, like, hey, I understand that you are the most disrespected woman in America. Yes, you are this Black woman, right? This Black woman, and you're the most disrespected, right? You're the most unprotected, right? And it just kind of feels like you're telling me to feel that way, right? What if I don't feel disrespected? What if I feel definitely respected in my household? What if I feel respected amongst my social circles? What if I feel respected in my workplace? Like, it may not be all the time, right? Of course you deal with disrespect at moments, right? But like, I'm pretty respected, or I'm getting these promotions, or I'm moving the social ladder. This quote don't apply to me, right? And I'm saying this proverbially. Like, I'm not necessarily saying I never experienced disrespect, but the point is, like, oftentimes when you're finally experiencing success and things are going well, it's like you don't have to say this quote still. Like, you've moved on from this quote. Does that make sense? Like, You've moved on from this quote. This quote is no longer relevant. And yes, though this quote may no longer be relevant for you, Black woman, there may be another Black woman around the corner who's experiencing a different life, right? So again, two things can be true, but I think, when we just wear this quote as a badge of honor, as something to be proud of, like, I'm not ever going to walk around feeling like this victim. I'm not, like, and no matter how much society tries to paint it out, like, I talked about a couple of episodes ago. I get like these, like, I don't know if you guys noticed, like, I would like get in a moment of speech and then I'll just like freak out. Like, I'll just like stop talking for like a 0.01 second. Like, I don't know. But anyway, so you have these moments where it's like, I want you to still feel like I'm under someone's thumb. I want you to still feel like you can't ever get out of under my thumb, that you can't ever find a way to be successful. You're always going to struggle. Woe is me, yada, yada, yada. And like I said, at one point in time, maybe this quote was relevant to you. And now that you're at a different space in your life, you're at a different level, it's no longer relevant. Like, that's okay. Like, it's okay to say, hey, I feel actually very loved. Like, I'm very respected. I'm very valued. I'm very much considered. I'm very much supported. Like, this doesn't apply to me. And, and I'm a Black woman, right? Like, that you could say that, and hopefully it's not received as, oh, well, you're a sellout. Like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Anyway, going back to Kevin Samuels, I think, when you have these women still calling in, it now makes me question the woman. Like, it makes me want to question you. Like, why do you care? Like, why do you care to be on this man's show knowing that he doesn't give a fuck about you, knowing that you're going to be looked at as this low valued being, and it's not going to look good for you? And then, boom, I put my little hat on and I figure it out. You know what I figured out? I figured out that it's all for clout, right? You have these Black women, some of them, and one in particular, and I'm going to make the connection, right? One particular Black woman who I described earlier, who had like these standout set of teeth, okay? What I mean by that is, like, her teeth kind of just falls out of her mouth. Respectfully, I'm just saying that respectfully. I'm just trying to describe her as clear as I can. Her teeth just literally falls out of her mouth, and of course, that doesn't look good for Kevin Samuels. She's not rated at a high number, and she's dragged by Kevin Samuels, right? And he's telling her, like, you are not beautiful enough, pretty enough to catch a man of a high caliber or a high value man. So now this goes viral. Everyone sees it. People make their commentary. People say, Kevin Samuels hate Black women, and here comes that quote again. Black women are the most unprotected. And I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, just a couple of days ago, I go on my television, okay? My television. And guess who I see on my television? I see that same Black woman with the teeth standing out. I see her on my screen on this show called Love Match Atlanta. Love Match Atlanta. I can't make this up. She's on it's this brand new show on Bravo. And you have these like different Black matchmakers who are interested in just like matching people up, right? And so she's one of the clients to this matchmaker. I'm like, damn, she looks so familiar. Where do I know? Like, do I know this woman personally? Like, why does she look so familiar? And then there's a part in the show, in the episode, when the matchmaker, he describes his client. He says, yeah, this client went through a very embarrassing moment just recently. She was on this famous YouTuber show and he dragged her. He didn't say drag, but he said he ridiculed her and made her feel like crap. And now it affected her confidence, and now I'm here to build her up. I'm here to make her realize her worth, her value, and I'm here to match her up with eligible men. And I just like it just dawned on me, like, wow, this was all purposeful. She came on that platform for Kevin Samuels, for him to obviously drag her. She used that as leverage to get on this reality show in which she had a good I want to say a good 20 minutes on this episode, like, so a lot of exposure. And now she's more of a figure, right? Now she is more of this woman. She has a name to her, right? You may want to find her on Instagram. And it's just like, wow, we live in a world where it's really about clout. Like, what can I get off from this? Yeah, so I just find that very, very disappointing. I think people like her it just looks bad. It looks bad because it makes it seem like any truth to him being this like degrader of black women is now null and void, because she came on for cloud and she's on a news show right now and she's being matched with another successful. It just like seems very, it's just whack. That's all I could really describe it as. It's a whack. It's a wiggity whack. Anyway, the reason I brought up Kevin Samuels is, in addition to what I shared, is there was a lot of controversy as far as people's reaction in learning of his passing. Pastor Jamal Bryant, who is a pastor of a mega church in, I want to say it's in Atlanta. Where is it? Where is his church? Is it in the ATL? Pastor Jamal Bryant. Okay, so his church is... Oh, wait, what? He was born in Boston? Oh, yeah, he's definitely a grifter. I did not know he was born in Boston. Wow. Oh, wow, that changes everything. Nah, that changes everything. Yeah. Wow. I'm taken aback right now because black American men from Boston, different type of breed. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's giving grifter. It's giving, say anything to get you to believe me. Oh my God, he's a Bostonian. I did not know that. I genuinely thought he was just from the South. Because that's where his church, where is his church? Hold on. So he is a senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, and that is located where? And let me go ahead and search Google. That is in Georgia. Yeah, so it's in Georgia. It is a mega church. Okay, so during one of his sermons, he said verbatim, "How can a man say that you are of low value after 36 or after 35? How can a man say that you don't have the level of reaction of a high-powered man when that man has to get a GoFundMe for his funeral?" All right, end quote. So he said that because there was a GoFundMe made by an alleged friend of Kevin Samuels, and this woman decided to create this GoFundMe on behalf of Kevin Samuels' family to cover funeral expenses. Come to find out, this woman is not a friend of Kevin Samuels nor a friend of the family, and she is in fact a scammer. And the GoFundMe page was later pulled down. So I don't know how much money she got. I don't know if she was able to still take the money out before her page got deleted. Nonetheless, it turned out that she was a scammer and that there was no like a legitimate GoFundMe raised for Kevin Samuels. And I think, with GoFundMe, it has a negative stigma, just a stigma, right? Stigma is negative. It has a stigma because it gives the appearance that you're broke, right? Like you didn't have your stuff in order, and so now you're relying on the community, strangers, and just good givers to pay funeral expenses. And this is often done for people who may come off very, very wealthy, right? Like, I'm gonna wear, what is it, like big chains, I'm gonna have the latest cars, I'm gonna wear the designer clothing, yet I don't have enough money saved and stored in the event of a funeral that needs to be paid for. So but yeah, so Pastor Jamal Bryant said this prior to it being revealed that it was a scammer. But nonetheless, he received backlash for saying this. Omarion and T.I. are among the few, or among the many who spoke out and spoke against this speech or his sermon, because it felt like, why this is disgusting. Why would you say this knowing that he's passed? Have some respect for the deceased and yada yada yada. So it sparked controversy, and now the conversation has been pushed to, now black women has to still care for a black man who definitely didn't care for black women when he was alive. Like, now Kevin Samuels is a black woman's responsibility now. Like, it's now turning into those conversations. This is I'm not gonna say her name, but she was a guest on my podcast. Let me just say that, so y'all could do the deduction process of elimination. You could do that. But she was a guest on my podcast, and she's a funny woman, but she has like a stick up her ass in a way. Like, I'm saying this respectfully, but I think sometimes with certain people, they're just always going to be a certain way, right? Like, they're just and this woman in particular, she has a way of just like always having just a monkey on her shoulder. Like, she's always holding some level of grudge. And consistently what I see from her is like, why black men don't protect black women. And she's like one of the ones who would wear that quote as a badge of honor, the whole, black women are the least protected. Like, she will wear that as a badge of honor. Like, like, that's her pledge of allegiance. Like, hi, good morning, black women are the least protected. It's like, girl, I just said good morning. Can you relax? What do you want in your coffee? Like, it's not that deep, dog. But yeah, she's like very dramatic and very just like on it. So like, she's been having recent conversations on her social media about this, and she's like so like emotionally invested, and it's like Kevin Samuels personally spoke to her and told her that you ain't shit. Like, it's so personal. Like, her reaction is so personal, and I'm just thinking about like, wow, there must be a lot of other women out there who personally feel this way, who take this so personally and so sensitively. And I just like, wow, why do you care? Like, why do you care what this man who you have no relation to, who you have no connection with, who you've never met, like, there's no reason for you to care about this man's opinion of you. Yet you're so verklempt. You are so overwhelmed. You are so emotional over his opinions. And granted, it's like, it's immature, right? This whole scale that he has, and, rate yourself, and I will give you a 5. You're a 5 out of 10. It's like, all of that is ridiculous, but I could say that, right, and move on, right? Like, I could say that and not take that with me before I go to bed, right? Like, okay, Kevin Samuel said this. I'm not remembering that in the next hour. Like, I don't care what Kevin Samuel said. And I think oftentimes too many of us care. Like, too many of us really, really depend on this stranger who has this large platform. We depend on him to tell us, tell me I'm beautiful. Can you tell me I'm enough? And it's like, who is this man? You don't even know him. You don't even know him. You know, and if he didn't get any exposure, right? If he was just some random YouTuber who, you know, was still coming up and saying the same rhetoric, you wouldn't care. But now that it is more popular and more, you know, more widespread, now you're so upset, and now it's such a big, it's just like, but who cares? Like, but who cares though? Like, really, like, close your phone, get off the app, right? Get off the app. Do you still care? Okay. You don't? Okay, let's do more of this. Like, let's realize that this isn't real. Like, Twitter isn't real. YouTube isn't real, right? It feels real because we spend so much time on it. It feels real because people make money off of it. It feels real because you're scrolling through it hours on end. You're creating content for it. You're living your life around social media. And, you know, that's just the world that we live in. I'm not going to knock you for it, but I really want people to take a moment to read a book. Take a moment to read a book. Take a moment to watch a movie and, like, just really watch the movie. Don't have your phone on you. Don't tweet while watching it. I just want you to watch the movie. Just take a moment. Take a time out. Take a time out. Can you take a time out? You know? So, speaking of books, I am struggling with this book that I'm currently reading. It's called The Club. And I'm so happy I did not buy this book. I actually won it from a lottery, not a lottery, but like it was like the sweepstakes on Instagram. I follow a specific book club profile, and oftentimes like it's just aesthetically pleasing, like looking at different books and like the pictures of these books and the commentary of these books. It's just like, oh, I just like looking at it, and, you know, maybe it'll inspire me to buy a book or whatever. Will buy the book that they recommend, right? So one of the books, or the book that I have, is from this profile, from this Instagram profile, and you have to tag another Instagrammer and make sure you're following this profile. Excuse me, and then you'll be randomly selected. I just happened to be selected. So I was happy about it. Like, oh, I like winning stuff. You know, that's fun. And I got the book, a few days later. So I have the book. I started reading it. And I'm just like so unimpressed. Like, it's just boring as fuck. And the way that the book is written, it does these like flashbacks, right? Like, you'll start off in present day, right? And say if I get to page 50, on page 50 it's gonna say continuing from page 24, and literally it'll continue it from page 24 in like different font, and then after like 2 or 3 pages you're now continuing the story from the present time on page 49, right? Like, it's just this weird, like, why the fuck is it written? Like, what is this? Like, it doesn't even make sense, right? Like, I feel like you're listening and you're like, huh? Exactly. That's what I feel whenever I'm reading it, because it's happened. I thought it would just happen like maybe once or twice. No, it has happened several times throughout my reading. I'm in the early hundreds of this book. It's only 300 pages long. But at this point, I don't even know if I want to keep on reading it. And I'm not even like this. I'm not this girl, y'all. Like, I finish my books. Like, I read the paper books. I'm not reading. I think audiobooks are cheating. You're not reading the book. It's like a podcast. It's not a book. I'm sorry to break it to you. I'm sorry. Feel the pages. Okay, maybe a Kindle. You could do a Kindle. But really, You have to be old school with it. And I hate that's even called old school, but like you're not reading if you're listening on an audio. That's not a book. Hi, excuse me. It's not a book. It's not a book. So anyway, I don't know if I can finish the book. I really don't know. I feel like I'm accepting now that it's okay to say, hey, enough. Enough of this book. I don't like it like that. Why waste my time hoping that the next few pages will get better? I keep saying, I'm like, oh, maybe just building it up, right? Building the characters, building the scene. It's been built. It's unsatisfactory. I am unimpressed. The writing is bland. Okay, so I'm just, on one hand, I'm happy that I didn't pay for it. Like, this was not a purchase of mine. I won it. But on the other hand, it's like, damn, I won this book. Like, this is the book that I won. Like, I could have won a better book. I don't know. I think I'm just going to finish it. Like, it's been in my bag for the past 2 or 3 days, and I have yet to open it again. But again, I'm just like 170 pages short of finishing it. So hopefully I finish it. So I could go on to this next book that I'm really interested in reading. Anyway, I bring that up to say, read a book. If you're so upset over what a YouTuber says, maybe you should read a book instead. Like, maybe you should take a time out that's intentional and read a book. So you just don't get so upset and in your panties over what a YouTuber, like, what? Like, why do you care? It's just so weird to me. It brings me back to, I'm not gonna ask you, do you think I look good? Do you think I look good today? Do you think I look fat? Like, I'm not gonna open that door for you to possibly say something that may offend me, right? Like, I'm not doing that. Like, and if you give your advice or your take, it was definitely unsolicited, right? It was definitely unsolicited. Like, I did not request for this at all. Anyway, let's talk about this amazing, that's the wrong word. Oh my gosh, I did not mean to say amazing. I meant to say like ridiculous, like this like crazy story. So I came across the story of this rapper, and this is no offense. I'm not like a rap head, so I really don't mean any offense with this by saying this rapper, like this random guy. So I'm sure like many of you guys know this rapper. His name is Kid Creole, okay? Kid Creole, and he is one of the founding, or is the founding member of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. That is hard for me to say. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. But yes, he is the founding member of the Grandmaster Flash and Furious Five. And definitely like reputable hip hop group. I've heard this name. I'm not like a hip hop head to like really tell you like the tracks, right? But I definitely heard of his name. This group's name. This particular man, Kid Creole, whose name is, okay, I don't have it right now, but Kid Creole is his rap name. And he has been sentenced to 16 years in prison for fatally stabbing a homeless man, right? Now, on the top, right? Like, as soon as I said that, right, you may think like, dang, that's crazy. Like, why would he do that? Like, why would you attack the vulnerable, right? The homeless is considered the vulnerable. The homeless is considered, the marginalized group in our society, and it instantly paints him as this like perpetrator who just like went out of his way to kill a homeless man, right? Now, of course, it's a death, so it still is a life loss, and that is still something to be accounted for, right? But there's a story behind it. Now, even when I read an article, I was still taken aback by the writing of it, because it said that he fatally stabbed this homeless man whose name, like, they gave him a name. Not that he didn't have a name, but like, sometimes with the homeless people, like, you don't really like, they're dehumanized, unfortunately. Like, they're not seen as like members of society as much as they could be seen as. And because of this, like, they're nameless. They're just like, oh, that homeless guy right there. Like, we don't even care to say, hey, what's your name? We just may give them whatever we have on us, like, whatever cash we have available to give them, and go about our day. But we don't think to ask them their name, or just go into conversations like, just get away from me. I ain't got it. Or I do have it. Here you go. Right? Yada, yada. Anyway, so the article immediately gave this homeless man a name. So his name is John Jolly. May he rest. And they paint the story. They literally said that Kid Creole stabbed him with a steak knife in Midtown Manhattan, 2017. Then afterwards, he went to his place of business, washed his hands, changed his clothing, and washed the knife off, and continued his workday like usual, right? And that was literally like, that was it. Like, nothing else was really said in that article. It was just very much so, oh, this rapper guy just came out the cut, purposely stabbed and killed this man, and went about his day like nothing happened. And that's like, very interesting. Like, okay, huh? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, we're instantly seeing and made to believe that Kid Creole just did it because he's this lunatic, right? And he's this, just this, like, killer. But there's a story behind it. So I do some more digging, and I learned that this is my 2 cents, but I really do think it's a case of a gay panic defense. What is a gay panic defense, you may ask? So I learned about this term when I watched, it was a Netflix show called, like, The Top Scandals in America, something like that. And there was, each episode was focused on a particular scandal. One of the episodes was about a Jenny Jones episode. Remember that show, the Jenny Jones show, in the 90s and early 2000s? That was really the show back then. Like, when talk show was like really a thing, like Jenny Jones, Ricky Lake, Montel Jordan. Yeah, so Jenny Jones, I used to watch her growing up with my cousins and my sister. Like, we used to watch that show, and even my dad used to watch that show. Anyway, but there was an episode of the Jenny Jones show where the topic was, I have a crush on him and he doesn't know. And remember, like, in the show, like, we'll see the topic on the screen, and then the guests will come out and the topic is revealed to them. So we know what the topic is. The guest finally comes out. So it's 2 people. It's a woman. No, it's a woman and a man. This woman, she's like this bigger size woman. And no, wait. It was 2 men. There was a woman involved, though. I think they had a mutual friend. This female. Yeah, no. So it was a woman and a man on the stage. This woman was like, yeah, I really want to get, this man, my friend, to get with my other friend. He has a crush on him. I don't know. I'm totally, like, butchering it. I'm so sorry. But the point is, this show, there's a straight man on the show. Okay, let me try again. There's a straight man on the show. He has a gay friend. This gay friend was trying to hit on him, and he revealed that he liked him and he feels like, you like me back, and we should, like, try this thing out. And the straight guy was very much, like, uncomfortable. Like, he was, like, laughing. You know how you laugh sometimes in discomfort? I know I do. And so he's laughing in the moment, like, oh no, man, I'm sorry, I don't go that way. I like women. And he was just, like, playing it off, and that was that, right? So it seemed kind of innocent, kind of light, until a few days later, in real life, we see in the news that the straight man, not to laugh, but the straight man actually killed the gay guy who hit on him, like killed him, like ended his life. Hello, somebody gone, killed him because he felt so embarrassed and mortified that this gay guy hit on him on live national television. And so they're like in the courthouse trying to persecute the straight guy for this murder. And the defense that he's using, that his lawyer decided to conjure up, was this is a gay panic defense, because he was put on national TV without his consent for this topic, because he wasn't aware of the topic until he was sitting on stage on this show. And the lawyer is like, my client basically was bombarded with sexual advances that was unwanted, and it made him feel uncomfortable, and it was done on a national scale, and yada yada yada. And so he panicked and was so embarrassed that it led to him killing the gay guy. Now, whether you agree with that or not, whether you agree with that or not, I'm not saying to kill people who hit on you. I'm just saying there's something to that, right? And there's an actual definition of gay panic defense. Go ahead and look it up, but I'm going to read what I have here. You can look it up if you want more insight on it, if you're unfamiliar. But what it is known as the homosexual advance defense. It legitimizes and excuses violent and lethal behavior against members of the LGBTQIA plus community. And of course, this is definitely something that those in that community feel offended by and feel like this shouldn't be a defense used in court, and it's unlawful, it's immoral, and yada yada yada. Aside from the killing part, right? Of course you shouldn't kill people, but I think, I don't know, I think in certain circumstances there has to be some understanding of when someone is putting on some advances towards you and you're extremely uncomfortable with it, and maybe you vocalize that, or you're put on the spot in front of other people, there is a reaction that is had, that is natural. Hey man, I don't want that. I'm not into that. And I feel like you shouldn't make someone feel uncomfortable just because you like that person. That's so weird to me. I think oftentimes, call it homophobic or if whatever, I don't give a fuck, but oftentimes I see gay people being the ones to be the aggressor, being the ones to come forward and be like, hey, I want you and I'm gonna have you, right? And it's the person that they're trying to get is straight, or at least presents themselves as straight. And now the gay person is now putting that straight person in an uncomfortable position. And I'm saying uncomfortable because even if that straight person maybe just had a curiosity, or maybe was presenting straight and really isn't, it's don't force that out of that person. You know what I mean? Don't try to make that person feel trapped and pressured into giving into your advances. That is unfair and that is uncomfortable. Just for you to, just for a gay person to feel uncomfortable with being forced to come out the closet, right? You shouldn't have to, you should not then force someone else to come out the closet or to participate in homosexual activities with you just because you want them, just because you find that person attractive. I just think that is so weird. I know this gay guy who will say comments about just straight guys who he finds attractive, and he's like, oh, you think he might want to get with me, you think he might like me, yada yada yada. And I'm he's straight though. I don't really see that happening. And he's like, I don't know, I think there's something to him, I think there's a possibility. And I said to him one time, I was like, you be trying to make everybody gay. You be trying to make everybody gay. Not everybody is gay. Like, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. Like, go to your specific gay guy friends and hit on them. Like, don't try to hit on the straight ones trying to get them to be gay with you. Anyway, I say all that to say, and this is what took place with Kid Creole, okay? This homeless man, John Jolly, like, what kind of fucking, that's probably not even his name. But anyway, John Jolly, may he rest, though, like, still uncalled for, like, damn. But what I've gathered from this story, from what I read, from what I watched, is John Jolly was, he was being the aggressor here. So he was, and sometimes with homeless people, especially, like, with the men, they are sometimes aggressive. Sometimes they would, like, stare at you for too long, try to come forward to you, and it just becomes a moment where, like, okay, what we doing here? Are we fighting, or do you really want this sandwich that I half ate? Like, what is it? So anyway, being that Kid Creole is this famous rapper, and though he's not, like, I mean, he's in the rock and roll Hall of Fame, right? So he's a legend, right? Technically, right? Even though, like, I'm not, like, familiar with his work necessarily, but I recognize that he's considered a legend. And in this moment in time, when John Jolly was approaching him, Kid Creole probably just thought, oh, maybe this is a fan who just wants to say hello and say how much, my rap influenced him positively and yada, yada, yada. So he was initially receptive to John Jolly's response, or just initiation, like, hey, initiation of a conversation, yada, yada, yada. Yet the initiation turned uncomfortable. It began, like, he was following him, he was getting too close to him, and it became a matter of, I have to defend myself. Like, I don't know what this man has on him. I don't know if he's trying to attack me. I don't know if he has another homeless man about to hit me from the back and rob me. Like, I don't know. But at the very least, I'm going to defend myself, right? Either be killed or killed, right? That's really, at the end of the day, it's about self-preservation, right? Like, if you're in a position where you feel like your life may be at danger and you have to act, you act. And I can't necessarily fault him for that. And, it's unfortunate that a life is lost, but I feel like ultimately when you're in a position where you are trapped, or you feel like you have no other choice but to defend yourself, and in that defense leads to a life being lost, then unfortunately it's a so be it type of situation, right? Then so be it, right? So Kid Creole happened to have a steak knife on him, and this is in Manhattan, y'all. This is in New York. Like, New York is, like, I understand we want to say, there's a lot of, like, YouTubers in New York and a lot of, like, content creators, and they paint New York as this, like, very event filled and woke, just, like, stylish place. And though it is, it's also dangerous still. Like, I think I'm seeing now more of a crime surge in New York than it has been in years. And, a lot of that I feel like come into play since defund the police became a term. So it's like, how you gonna say defund the police but expect the police to do their job? Like, you gotta get paid, right? Like, I'm not working for free. And I know people trying to say, oh, well, certain jobs, you shouldn't be about the money. It shouldn't be about the money. It shouldn't be about the finances. Huh? Why not? I hate when people do that dumb shit. Like, oh, you're a teacher, you shouldn't care about the money. It's about the service. Why can't I care about the money? Like, why can't it be both? Like, why can't I also get paid a considerable amount? Why can't I also negotiate with my pay? Why do I have to be okay with this and that's it? As long as I'm, servicing the community. Huh? Is the community paying my bills? Can I tell my landlord, hey, my community got me this month? No, it's not like this. that's wild to me. Like all this like these like good service jobs, like these humble jobs, you know, social worker, police officer, teacher, firefighter. Just be happy with your service. No, I want to be happy with the pay. Okay? Anyway, so going back to John Jolly, Kid Creole was put in a position where he had to defend himself. And unfortunately, it led to the life loss of John Jolly, a homeless man. And now Kid Creole is charged with a manslaughter. He was already serving time from 2017 when this took place. And to just a few days ago in 2022, he was found guilty and sentenced to 16 years. Now, it's said that he could do 2/3 of that sentence. And since he already paid 5 years of his life in prison, maybe 2 or 3 more years he has left and he could leave, and he could be, dismissed. I don't know how it works technically. I don't know if that could be a possibility, but it's all unfortunate. It's really just sad. Like, it's sad on all levels. Like, dang, you have on one hand a culture of some gay men who do push forward too aggressively, making those who are straight feel uncomfortable. And it's not about being homo. It's not fucking that. If I don't want it, don't try to convince me that I do. Right? Don't say like, oh, you just never had the right one. You just never had the right dick. Like, don't try to convince me that I want it. Don't. Like, just, and it goes the same heterosexual wise, right? Like, if I'm not into you, then I'm not into you. Don't try to make me into you. Don't try to say, hey, you never been with a real nigga. What? I don't want you, nigga. Like, it doesn't have to be all of that. Like, just take the no and go. And unfortunately, some people can't take no's and can't just go. They have to wear their ego loud and proud, and it shows. And we have this unfortunate case here. Both lives are lost, right? This is really sad. So I'm really sorry to hear that. I feel sorry for both families, honestly, not just the family of John Jolly, but also Kid Creole. And I just hope there's a resolution. Hopefully he can leave earlier, because I think this was an act of defense. I really do. And he was initially charged with attempted murder. So that would have been a longer sentence. It probably would have been a life sentence. And it's not to say, like, obviously homeless lives do matter, but I just find that interesting that they were so, like, they cared, honestly. And it's really no shot, but I just feel like, there's so many cases of, like, prostitutes missing and just missing girls and sex trafficking and yada, 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 and just, like, street life shit. And we don't hear enough of those lives mattering, right? We don't hear enough of those lives being cared for and the police doing all that they can. But being that we have this example of a music icon being found guilty for fatally stabbing someone, now it's like, okay, I want to be this big shot lawyer who put this legendary rapper down, right? So I think it's also about presentation and, looking good, looking like this big shot of a lawyer and of a judge who just really stopped the life of this legendary rapper. So, definitely devastating, unfortunate news, and hopefully something better comes out of it. All right, you guys, I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for listening, and I will check in with you guys next time. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This Podcast with your host, Maxine. Be sure to leave a review, give me 5 stars, and of course, subscribe. Also, follow God Built This Podcast on Instagram at God Built This Pod. God bless.